Picture this. I'm standing at my father's lavish retirement party, 200 pairs of eyes glued to me when he drops a bombshell, hand over my entire $10,000 monthly salary to him and my brother, forever, or be disowned. I'm David, 32, and I turned their world upside down with a secret my mother left behind. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. The Grand Horizon Hotel in Miami was a glittering stage for this showdown. Chandeliers dripped with crystal, casting a golden glow over linen-draped tables, and the endless clink of champagne flutes. The air buzzed with wealth and expectation, the kind of place where deals are sealed and egos inflated. My father, William Carter, had chosen it to crown his 35-year reign over Carter Construction, his empire of concrete and steel. He stood at the head of the room, silver hair gleaming, soaking up applause like a king. Beside him, my older brother James played the loyal prince, nodding with a smug grin, basking in our father's light. I sat at a table near the back, an outsider in my own family's saga. My girlfriend Emily's hand rested on mine, her quiet strength a lifeline. Next to me, an empty chair. My mother Laura's absence, a silent scream in the festive chaos. William's voice boomed, recounting his rise from a scrappy contractor to a Miami legend. The crowd hung on his every word, but I felt the weight of what was coming. His eyes, sharp and predatory, locked onto mine. This wasn't just a party, it was a trap, meticulously set, and I was the prey. The room's warmth turned suffocating, the cheers a distant hum. What he was about to demand would shatter everything, and I had no idea how my mother's hidden legacy was about to save me. The Grand Horizon Hotel's opulence seemed to mock me as I sat there, Emily's hand anchoring me to reality. The Miami skyline sparkled through floor-to-ceiling windows, but the room felt like it was closing in. My father, William Carter, was in his element, commanding the stage at his retirement gala. His voice, rich with self-congratulation, wove a tale of grit and glory. 35 years building Carter Construction into a Miami powerhouse. The crowd of 200, a mix of business tycoons and family friends, lapped it up, their applause a rhythmic pulse. My brother James stood at his side, the golden sun, his smile a polished mirror of our father's charisma. I, David, was just a shadow in their narrative, tucked away at a table with an empty chair beside me. A ghost of my mother, Laura, gone too soon. William's speech took a sentimental turn, his glass raised to James. "To my son, James," he boomed, "the heart of Carter Construction, who's carried our legacy with loyalty and pride." James puffed up, basking in the spotlight. William toasted our Aunt Susan, his sister, the family's rock, and old partners who'd built this empire. My name, not a whisper. I was the son who'd traded blueprints for code, a techie in a world of concrete. To him, that was treason. I sipped my water, the familiar sting of invisibility, now a dull ache. Emily leaned in, her voice a soft tether. "He's performing," she murmured. "This is all for show." I nodded, but the knot in my chest tightened. Then the air shifted. William set his glass down, his tone dropping to a grave, commanding cadence. The room fell silent, every eye on him. His gaze cut through the crowd, landing on me like a spotlight. "And now," he declared, each word deliberate, "as I step into retirement, it's time for my youngest son David to fulfill his duty." My heart lurched. Duty. The crowd leaned forward, sensing drama. "From this day forward," he continued, "your salary, all $10,000 a month, every bonus, will go to this family to save Carter Construction, to preserve the legacy your grandfather started and I built." A gasp rippled through the room. "Refuse," he added, his voice ice cold. "And you're no longer a Carter." The silence was deafening, a void swallowing every whisper. Emily's grip on my hand turned vice-like. James smirked, his triumph barely concealed. This wasn't a request. It was a public execution, planned to shame me into submission. My pulse hammered, a storm of rage and disbelief churning inside. But years of being the overlooked son had forged a strange resilience. I felt a cold clarity settle over me, like armor. The crowd waited for me to crumble, but I wouldn't give them the show they expected. The Grand Horizon's glittering ballroom felt like a cage, every eye pinning me down as my father's ultimatum hung in the air like a guillotine. William Carter, his silver hair catching the chandelier light, stood tall, his voice still echoing. "Hand over my $10,000 monthly salary or be erased from the family." My brother James's smirk was a dagger, his confidence radiating across the room. The 200 guests, business moguls, family friends, stared, their shock morphing into morbid curiosity. Emily's hand, clenched around mine, was the only thing keeping me grounded. My heart pounded, a frantic drumbeat, but I'd spent years as the invisible son, swallowing slights. This wasn't just a demand, it was a calculated ambush, and I wasn't about to break. I pushed my chair back, the scrape loud in the suffocating silence. Every head turned, expecting a meltdown. Instead, I met my father's steely gaze with one of my own. "I'll need time to consider your proposal," I said, my voice calm, clipped, like I was addressing a client, not a parent. The word proposal dripped with irony, and I saw a flicker of confusion cross William's face. He'd braced for a fight, not this measured defiance. James's smirk faltered, his eyes narrowing. The crowd murmured, sensing the script had flipped. Without another word, I took Emily's hand and walked toward the exit. The sea of guests parted, their whispers trailing us like static. My father's voice didn't follow. No shout, no demand to stop. That silence was louder than his speech, heavy with his miscalculation. As the heavy glass doors of the Grand Horizon swung shut, cutting off the stunned ballroom, my Uncle Henry, William's quieter brother, caught up to us in the humid Miami night. His face was pale, eyes wide with urgency. "David, listen," he whispered, grabbing my arm. "Don't agree to a damn thing. Your mother left something big. Call me tomorrow. You need to know the truth." Emily drove us home, her hand steady on the wheel, her silence a warm shield. My mind raced, replaying Henry's words. The truth? My mother, Laura, had been the heart of our family. Her love for art and ideas a stark contrast to William's obsession with legacy. Her death from cancer when I was 15 had shattered us, leaving me a ghost in my own home. What had she left behind? The question burned as Miami's neon lights streaked past, promising a battle I wasn't ready for, but one I wouldn't run from. The Miami night pressed against the car windows, a blur of neon and palm shadows, as Emily drove us away from the Grand Horizon Hotel. My father's ultimatum, hand over my $10,000 monthly salary or be disowned, still rang in my ears, a public shaming meant to break me. I was David, 32, the son who dared to forge my own path, and now I was reeling from Uncle Henry's cryptic warning. My mother had left something to protect me. Emily's silence was steady, her presence a lifeline as my mind churned. What truth was Henry hiding? The city's pulse seemed to mock my uncertainty, but I felt a spark of resolve. This wasn't over. Back at my apartment, the quiet was oppressive, broken only by the hum of the AC. Emily poured us coffee, her eyes searching mine. "You were incredible back there," she said softly. You didn't let him win." I nodded, but my calm at the party had been a mask. Inside, I was a storm of rage and questions. My father, William, had always favored James, the son who mirrored his obsession with Carter construction. I'd been the odd one out, chasing code while they built skyscrapers. That empty chair at the gala, my mother Laura's ghost, had screamed of the unfairness I'd endured for years. Now, William thought he could bully me into submission. He was wrong. I barely slept, Henry's words looping in my head. "You need to know the truth." At dawn, I called him. His voice was low, urgent. "Meet me at the Rusty Anchor, that old diner near the beach. Come alone." The diner was a time capsule, faded formica tables, the smell of grease and stale coffee. Henry was already there, his face lined with worry, a thick manila envelope in front of him. "Your mother was brilliant, David," he said, sliding it across. "She saw this coming. William's greed, James's entitlement. She planned for it." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in Laura's elegant handwriting and legal documents labeled Laura Carter Trust. Henry leaned forward. "Before she died, your mother set up a trust with her inheritance. It's worth millions now, thanks to a tech startup she backed. She knew William would try to sacrifice you for James. There's a clause, a poison pill. If anyone tries to exploit you financially, you get control of the trust." My breath caught. Laura, gone 17 years, had foreseen this betrayal. Her letter was a lifeline, her words fierce with love. "David, my dreamer, never let them dim your light. This is your shield." I looked at Henry, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "What's next?" He smiled grimly. "You fight. Your mother didn't just give you money, she gave you power." The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but for the first time, I felt untouchable. William and James had set their trap, but Laura had armed me with a weapon they'd never see coming. The Rusty Anchor's greasy air clung to me as I clutched the manila envelope, my mother's letter burning in my hands. Laura's words, her fierce love, her foresight, lit a fire in my chest, but the weight of her trust, now millions strong, felt like a loaded gun. I was David, 32, the son William Carter had tried to break at his glitzy Miami retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to prop up his failing empire and my brother James's ego. Uncle Henry's revelation about the Laura Carter Trust had shifted the ground beneath me. My mother, gone since I was 15, had armed me against this betrayal. As I left the diner, Miami's morning sun blazed, matching the resolve hardening inside me. Back home, Emily sat with me, her sharp eyes scanning Laura's letter. "She was a genius," she said, voice low with awe. "She knew exactly what they'd do." I nodded, the memories flooding back. Laura had been my champion, her world of books and ideas a refuge from William's obsession with the Carter construction. While he praised James for swinging a hammer, she'd sit with me, marveling at the logic of my first coding projects. "Your mind is a gift, David," she'd say, her smile a shield against William's grunts of disapproval. Her death from cancer had left a void, turning me into a ghost in my own family. William poured his dreams into James, the son who mirrored him, while I was sidelined, my achievements invisible. The sting of those years sharpened as I thought of the moments that defined my exile. At 17, I'd won a national coding competition, a scholarship to MIT in hand. I raced home, desperate for William's approval, only to find him and James in the driveway, cursing over a botched construction bid. "Dad, I got the scholarship," I'd said, holding out the certificate. He'd glanced at it, distracted. "That's nice, David." Grabbed me the ledger from the office. My triumph, a ticket to my future, was reduced to a footnote. That summer, I learned my college fund, set up by Laura, had been drained to cover James's first condo. William called it a family investment. I called it theft. Those betrayals piled up. To afford MIT, I worked 3 jobs: coding freelance apps, waiting tables at a dive bar, and stocking shelves at a 24-hour supermarket. My hands shook from exhaustion, but pride kept me from asking William for a dime. James, meanwhile, got a company truck and a cushy role at Carter Construction, his mistakes always forgiven. Laura's death had fractured us, but William's favoritism built a wall. Now, with the trust in my hands, I saw it clearly. Every slight, every stolen chance had forged my resilience. I wasn't just fighting for my salary. I was fighting for the life Laura believed I deserved. Emily squeezed my hand. "What's your move?" she asked. I looked at the trust documents, the poison pill clause glowing like a beacon. "I fight smart," I said. "William thinks he's cornered me. He's about to learn what Laura left behind." The Miami skyline loomed outside, a reminder of the empire William thought he owned. But Laura had given me the keys to a different kind of power, and I was ready to use it. The Miami sun burned through my apartment window, casting long shadows across the Laura Carter trust documents spread on my kitchen table. My mother's letter, its elegant script a whisper from the grave, had ignited a fire in me. I was David, 32, the son William Carter tried to crush at his retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to bail out his sinking Carter Construction and prop up my brother James. Uncle Henry's bombshell at the Rusty Anchor Diner, that Laura had foreseen this betrayal and armed me with a multi-million-dollar trust, changed everything. Emily sat beside me, her steady presence grounding my racing thoughts. "This is your moment," she said, her voice fierce. "Laura gave you a weapon. Use it." I traced the trust's poison pill clause, a legal landmine. If anyone tried to exploit me financially, I'd gain control of the fund, now swollen from Laura's prescient tech startup investment. My mother hadn't just been my cheerleader, nurturing my coding dreams while William idolized James's construction swagger. She'd been a strategist, planting a seed that bloomed into millions. Her letter, tucked inside the manila envelope, was a battle cry. "David, my dreamer," she wrote, "your light is your power. If they try to dim it, this trust is your sword. Wield it with love, not vengeance." My throat tightened. Laura, gone 17 years, had known William's pride would pit his sons against each other. She'd built me a fortress. Memories of her flooded back. When I was 12, she'd spend hours debugging my first app, her laughter bright as I explained binary logic. "You see the world differently, David," she'd say while William scoffed, handing James a wrench. Her death from cancer left me adrift, a teenager in a house where James was the heir and I was the afterthought. The trust was her final act of defiance, a shield against William's favoritism. I thought of the college fund he'd drained for James's condo, forcing me to grind through MIT with 3 jobs. Every late-night coding gig, every greasy diner shift had been a fight to prove I didn't need his approval. Now, I held the power to rewrite the story. I met Henry again that afternoon at a quiet beachfront cafe, the ocean's roar matching my resolve. He slid another document across the table, a detailed ledger of the trust's assets. "Laura picked a startup in '98, he said, eyes gleaming. "A long shot, but it got acquired by a tech giant. It's worth 8 figures now." My jaw dropped. 8 figures. "The clause is ironclad," he added. "William's demand triggered it. You're in the driver's seat." I stared at the numbers, my mother's foresight a living force. She'd bet on me, on a future William couldn't imagine. Emily's voice cut through my daze that night. "You've got the ammo, David. What's the plan?" I looked at her, then at Laura's letter. "We go to war," I said, my voice steady. "Not to destroy them, but to honor her. William and James think they've cornered me. They're about to face Laura's legacy." The Miami skyline glowed outside, a battlefield waiting. I wasn't just fighting for my money. I was fighting for the truth Laura died to protect. The Miami dawn painted my apartment in hues of orange and gold, but the Laura Carter trust documents on my table held my focus like a war map. I was David, 32, the son William Carter had tried to break at his lavish retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to save his crumbling Carter construction and prop up my brother James. Uncle Henry's revelation that my mother Laura had foreseen this betrayal and left me a multi-million-dollar trust with a poison pill clause had turned the tables. Emily's eyes met mine over coffee, her voice steady. "They think they've got you cornered, David. Show them they're wrong." My mother's letter, her words a beacon, urged me to fight with love, not vengeance. But the fight was coming, and it was about to get ugly. The first salvo hit that morning. My phone buzzed with William's name. I let it ring, steeling myself, then answered. "David, son," he began, his tone dripping with false warmth. "That scene at the gala got out of hand. Let's talk sense. Your family needs you." His words were a salesman's pitch, but I heard the edge beneath. "You mean my money?" I said, voice flat. The warmth vanished. "Don't play smart, boy," he snapped. "Carter Construction is your legacy. James has kids, responsibilities. You owe us." I hung up, my hand shaking with fury. Owe them? After years of being sidelined, my college fund raided for James's lifestyle, I owed them nothing. Hours later, James struck. A post on X dripping with venom called me a selfish tech bro, abandoning our family's legacy. It spread like wildfire, Miami's business circles buzzing with gossip. My inbox flooded with messages, some curious, others cruel. Emily scrolled through the comments, her jaw tight. "They're trying to shame you into submission," she said. I nodded, the trust documents burning in my mind. Laura had predicted this. She'd given me power not just to defend, but to strike back. By noon, Aunt Susan, William's sister, called, her voice syrupy with concern. "David, darling, you're tearing us apart," she cooed. "Family means sacrifice. Just help your father and this can all go away." Her words were a velvet glove over a fist, pushing the same guilt William wielded. I cut her off. "Sacrifice? I've been sacrificing my whole life, Susan. The bank's closed." Her gasp was audible before I ended the call. The attacks were relentless, a coordinated siege to break my will, but each one only sharpened my focus. That evening, I sat with Emily mapping our next move. The trust poison pill clause was my ace, but I needed to know the battlefield. I dug into Carter Construction's public records, tax liens, supplier disputes, loan defaults. The company was a house of cards, drowning in $2 million of debt. William's demand wasn't greed, it was desperation. James's flashy projects, overpriced equipment, failed bids had bled it dry. They needed my salary as a lifeline, and they'd burn me to get it. I looked at Emily, my voice cold with resolve. They've declared war. Tomorrow, we hit back. Miami's skyline loomed outside, a glittering reminder of the stakes. Laura's legacy was my weapon, and I was ready to draw blood. The Miami heat pressed against my apartment windows, but the chill of betrayal was colder. I was David, 32, the son William Carter had tried to crush at his retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to save his failing Carter construction and prop up my brother James. My mother's Laura Carter Trust, with its multi-million-dollar war chest and poison pill clause, was my shield, revealed by Uncle Henry as her final gift. William's phone call, James's venomous ex-post, and Aunt Susan's guilt-tripping had been a coordinated assault to break me. But their attacks only sharpened my resolve. Emily, my rock, sat across from me, her eyes fierce. "They're desperate," she said. "That's their weakness." I nodded, my dive into Carter Construction's finances revealing a $2 million debt spiral. They'd pushed me to the edge. Now they'd face the consequences. The next blow came at work. My phone vibrated during a coding sprint. Mark, my boss, with a curt, "My office now." My stomach dropped. Mark, a no-nonsense VP at our tech firm, valued loyalty and results. I'd spent 5 years earning his trust, leading projects that powered Miami's startup scene. His office overlooked Biscayne Bay, but the view felt like a storm brewing. "David," he said, face grim, "I got calls from your father and brother. They say you're unstable, reckless with money, a risk to our clients." My blood turned to ice. William and James hadn't just come for my salary. They'd aimed for my career, my reputation, my life. "They're lying," I said, voice steady despite the rage clawing my chest. "Give me 48 hours to prove it." Mark's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "Don't let me down." Back home, Emily was already on her laptop, her nurse's precision turned to war. "We need a shark," she said, pulling up Rachel Cohen's profile, a legal titan known for shredding high-stakes trust disputes. I called her, explaining the gala, the trust, and the attacks. Her voice was razor-sharp. "They've overplayed their hand. Book a meeting." That night, I dove deeper into Carter Construction's rot. Public records painted a grim picture. William had used supplier credit like a casino, while James's flashy ventures, $500,000 on untested tech for construction sites, had tanked. A second mortgage on the company's main office at a predatory rate was weeks from default. My salary was their last-ditch parachute, and they tried to torch my career to force it. Emily and I met Rachel at her sleek downtown office, the Miami skyline a backdrop to her steely focus. I laid out the trust's poison pill clause and Carter Construction's financial ruin. She leaned back, a predator's smile flickering. "They've triggered the clause. You're not just safe, you're in control." My heart raced. Laura's foresight was a fortress, and Rachel was the general I needed. "We need their full financial history," she said. "Every debt, every lie." I nodded, my coder's mind already mapping the data. William and James thought they'd cornered me. They were about to learn what desperation really felt like. The Miami skyline glittered like a taunt outside Rachel Cohen's law office, but inside, the air crackled with purpose. I was David, 32, the son William Carter had tried to break at his retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to save his sinking Carter Construction and prop up my brother James. Their attacks, William's threats, James's ex-post smear, Aunt Susan's guilt trips, and their attempt to sabotage my career with my boss, Mark, had only hardened my resolve. My mother's Laura Carter Trust, with its multi-million-dollar assets and poison pill clause, was my weapon, revealed by Uncle Henry as her final act of love. Rachel, our legal titan, had confirmed I held the reins. Now, in her sleek conference room, it was time to end this war. The room was a fortress of glass and steel, overlooking Biscayne Bay's restless waves. I sat at the head of a polished mahogany table flanked by Rachel, whose calm was more lethal than any shout, and Uncle Henry, his face etched with quiet pride. Opposite us were William and James, alone, their arrogance a stark contrast to the room's cold power. William, silver hair disheveled, tried to seize control. "This is a disgrace," he blustered, gesturing wildly. "Dragging family matters into a lawyer's den." James chimed in, voice sharp. "You're hiding behind suits, David. Mom would be ashamed." Their words were desperate, a last gasp to shame me. I let them sputter, my silence a blade. Rachel nodded subtly. My cue. I opened a sleek binder, its pages a damning chronicle of Carter Construction's ruin. "Let's start with 2005, I said, voice even, cutting through their noise. "I was 18, awarded a full MIT scholarship. You, Dad, knew that, yet you drained my $100,000 college fund to expand the company." I slid a bank statement across, William's signature glaring. His face paled. "And James," I continued, turning to him, "in 2011 your Maple Street condo needed a $50,000 down payment. Dad gave it to you from Mom's graduate fund for me. I took $80,000 in loans to get my master's." James stared at the table, sweat beading. I pushed the trust documents forward, their weight a thunderclap. "Mom knew you, Dad. She knew your pride would pit us against each other. This trust, her legacy, has a clause. Your demand at the gala triggered it. I control the fund now." Rachel leaned in, voice like steel. "You have no claim to David's income. The trust's assets, $12 million, are his to manage." William's shoulders slumped, his patriarch facade crumbling. James's eyes darted, panic setting in. Then a soft voice shattered the silence. Margaret, my mother's oldest friend, spoke from the table's end. "Don't you dare speak for Laura," she said, her gentle tone laced with fire. "I was with her when she signed this trust, weak but fierce. She wept, terrified you'd sacrifice David to save James." Her words were a requiem, stripping William bare. This trust was her love, her shield for David. Henry choked back a sob. The room stilled, the truth a tidal wave. William stared at his hands, a broken man. James bolted, chair scraping, fleeing his own reckoning. Laura's legacy had won, and I stood taller than ever. The silence in Rachel Cohen's conference room was a living thing, heavy with the wreckage of William Carter's shattered pride and James's frantic retreat. I was David, 32, the son they'd tried to break at William's glitzy Miami retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary to save their crumbling Carter Construction. My mother's Laura Carter Trust, with its $12 million in poison pill clause, had turned their ambush into my triumph. Margaret's words, Laura's fear that William would sacrifice me for James, hung like a verdict. William sat slumped, his silver hair dull under the fluorescent lights, a hollowed-out shell of the patriarch who'd stormed in. James's empty chair screamed his defeat. Rachel gathered her papers, her voice crisp. "We're done here." I walked out, Emily's hand in mine, the Miami air sharp with freedom. The fallout was swift. William stepped back from Carter Construction, his legacy tarnished. James's ex-post, once a weapon, backfired. Miami's business circles now whispered about his incompetence. At work, I faced Mark, my boss, who'd been fed lies about my instability. I laid out the trust's victory and Carter Construction's $2 million debt spiral, my analysis cold and precise. Mark leaned back, a rare smile breaking through. "You turned a family mess into a masterclass, David. Our biggest client heard about it. Sterling Group. They want you leading their $100 million expansion project." My heart raced. The partnership offer followed, a unanimous vote. William's attack, meant to ruin me, had forged my ascent. The trust's power rippled outward. I used its funds to audit Carter Construction, confirming my findings. William's reckless loans and James's failed ventures had gutted it. Sterling's CEO, intrigued by my ruthless efficiency, spread the story, and my name became a byword for strategic brilliance. My inbox filled with offers, my reputation soaring. Yet the family's silence was louder than their earlier assaults. No calls, no texts, just the void of their shame. Emily and I sat one night, the Miami skyline a quiet witness. "You didn't just win," she said. "You redefined the game." I nodded, Laura's letter vivid in my mind. Her call to wield power with love, not vengeance. But the victory felt incomplete. William and James were broken, not transformed. Laura's trust wasn't just a shield, it was a blueprint for justice, for rebuilding what their greed had torn apart. I knew the next step would test me, not as a warrior, but as a son, a brother, a man. The city pulsed outside, alive with possibility. I was no longer the overlooked son. I was David, holding the keys to a legacy Laura dreamed of, one I'd shape on my terms. The Miami night was alive with the hum of cicadas and the distant pulse of the city. But in my apartment, a quiet resolve settled over me. I was David, 32, the son who'd turned William Carter's public ambush at his retirement gala, demanding my $10,000 monthly salary, into a rout, thanks to my mother's Laura Carter Trust and its $12 million war chest. The showdown in Rachel Cohen's conference room had left William a broken man and James a fugitive from his own shame. My career soared with a partnership at my tech firm, fueled by whispers of my masterclass in handling the crisis. Yet Laura's letter urging me to wield power with love, not vengeance, burned in my mind. Emily, my anchor, sat across from me, her eyes steady. "You've won, David," she said. "Now what?" I knew the answer. To honor Laura, I had to rebuild, not destroy. Weeks of silence from my family ended with a text from James, its raw desperation a shock. "David, I'm done. House is gone. Rachel left with the kids. I need to talk." His usual swagger was gone, replaced by a plea. Emily read it over my shoulder. "Hear him out," she urged. "Not for him, for you." We met at Rachel's sterile conference room, the same place where their world had crumbled. James looked like a ghost, gaunt, unshaven, eyes hollow. He didn't beg or bargain. "Banks for closing," he rasped. "Rachel's with her parents. The company's shuttered. I've got nothing." His honesty, stripped of entitlement, was new. I felt no pity, only clarity. I slid a contract across the table, Rachel's legal precision in every line. "This isn't charity, James," I said, voice cool. "It's a chance. Your last one." You mind the Laura Carter Trust would absorb Carter Construction's $2 million debt, starting with Sterling Group's claims, halting bankruptcy. The trust would buy the company's property, giving William a generous annuity for life, but he'd sign away all control. The business would be gutted and reborn as Carter & Sons, modernized with new tech and inventory. James would be general manager, not owner, on a modest salary with health benefits and strict metrics. He'd enroll in a business management course at Miami-Dade College, his performance reviewed quarterly. "This isn't a handout," I said. "It's work. Earn it, or you're out." James stared at the contract, his hands trembling. Pride and fear warred in his eyes. But the weight of his losses, home, family, future, tipped the scale. "Okay, David," he whispered, voice cracking. "I'll do it." At our engagement party months later, In a coconut grove backyard aglow with string lights, the air was light with laughter. William, frailer but calmer, approached me by the bar. "You built something good here," he said, voice gruff. "Laura, she was right about you." He patted my arm, a small gesture heavy with regret, and walked away. James, now studying and working, laughed with Emily, a spark of earned pride in his eyes. Laura's trust had saved more than me. It had rewritten our family story, grounded in respect, not rivalry. The Coconut Grove backyard glowed with string lights, the laughter of our engagement party mingling with the soft Miami breeze. I was David, 32, the son who'd faced down William Carter's demand for my $10,000 monthly salary at his retirement gala, meant to save his failing Carter construction and prop up my brother James. My mother's Laura Carter Trust, with its $12 million in poison pill clause, had turned their ambush into my victory. The showdown in Rachel Cohen's office had broken William's pride and James's entitlement, while my career soared with a partnership at my tech firm. James, now a humbled manager under the trust's restructured company, worked to rebuild his life. William, living off a trust-funded annuity, had offered a gruff olive branch. Laura's legacy had reshaped our family, not through vengeance, but through boundaries and respect. Standing by the bar, watching Emily laugh with James's kids chasing fireflies, I felt a peace I hadn't known. Laura's letter, urging me to wield power with love, was my North Star. This wasn't just a win, it was a breaking of a generational curse, where favoritism and greed had pitted brother against brother. I'd fought not to destroy, but to redefine what family could mean. Not obligation, but mutual respect. The trust, born from Laura's foresight and a tech startup bet that grew to millions, wasn't just money. It was her belief in me, a dreamer who saw the world in code, not concrete. Here's the lesson. Life will test your worth, sometimes through those closest to you. Set boundaries, fiercely protect your value, and fight for what's right. But don't let anger consume you. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to build something better. I could have crushed William and James, but Laura taught me to lift them up on terms that honored fairness. You can do the same. Stand tall, know your strength, and rewrite the story others try to force on you. So, what about you? Have you faced a moment where you had to draw a line? In family or elsewhere? Share your story in the comments. I'm reading every one. Hit that subscribe button for more stories of turning battles into breakthroughs. Next time, I'll dive into how I navigated the fallout at work with a twist you won't see coming. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.